Welcome to FORO Politico. My name is Marcos Palma. Today is August 11, 2016, and this is Latino PBS. We're going to talk about the presidential election 2016, where attacks between the two candidates has been increased. For example, by the Trump side, we have seen that they're accusing the Democratic candidate. There is a lawsuit for the deaths of 4 Americans in Benghazi. This campaign for Mr. Trump. Also, they're accusing the Secretary of State for the execution of an Iranian nuclear scientist. Again, this issue that the leading of the 33,000 emails. And also there is accusations of corruption for the Clinton Foundation, while Secretary Clinton was at the State Department. The Trump campaign is also questioning the health of Secretary Clinton. And also, in one of her speeches, there was the father of the killer in the gay club from Orlando, Florida, and they're blaming the Democrats for supposedly inviting the father of Omar Matthews. And by the other side, we had the proposals to improve the economy of this country by Secretary Clinton. I have to tell you that this speech, parts of this speech was given in Des Moines, Iowa. And Secretary Clinton proposed that, for example, during the first 100 days, she will create jobs. She will create good jobs with good benefits, and she will cut taxes for the middle class and make the corporations pay their fair share, is what she said. And she will create more clean energy jobs, will help the small businesses, and will help the students. She will put the student debt moratorium. She will raise the national minimum wage, and she will create jobs for people with disabilities. She also mentioned in that speech that she will equal pay for women, and she will create 10.4 million jobs. And she accused Mr. Trump that instead of creating jobs, Mr. Trump lost 3.4 million jobs. And she sends a message, a straight message, when she said that friends, don't let friends vote for Trump. She is working to unify the country, and her slogan is stronger together. Maybe you have seen that, or have you heard that slogan, stronger together, by Mrs. Clinton. And once again, she's again the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and Secretary Clinton had mentioned that she will renegotiate NAFTA. And there are some of the economic proposals by the Democratic candidate, and she's asking the people to go out and vote in November the 8th, and this kind of the economics proposal by her. And I want to welcome Mr. Steven Figueroa, that he's been with us and to take part of this analysis of this presidential election. And also I want to welcome Maribel Serrano. She's been also with us. She get a permission from the President Obama, this DACA student. Former DACA student, and she did a documentary about where she portrays her life as those challenges that she faces as a student, as an immigrant in this country. And thank you very much for being once again with a new look. With a new look. Maribel, thank you, and Mr. Figueroa, thank you very much for being with us again. About this week, those accusations against Mrs. Hillary Clinton, Secretary Clinton.
Well, first of all, this idiot attorney Lanky, I understand he's sued the federal government 86 times and has lost every single time. He sued Clinton, he sued Bush, he sued Obama over his birthright. He's just notorious right-wing nut. So I don't give those lawsuits any credibility whatsoever. And he's basically manipulating these families of these poor individuals that died because of what's going on in the Middle East. We can't control it no more than we control the sun rising and going down at the end of the day. I
have to ask you, Maribel, because you were not here after the two conventions, the Democratic and the Republican. Did you watch the conventions? What's your take on that convention?
I watched some of the speeches of the Democratic.
What is kind of that? What do you remember until today? What was the more important or that speech that impacts yourself as an immigrant? What was it? Because we've seen in the Democrats, for example, Michelle Obama, President Clinton, and those immigrants that they were talking about their stories that were so dramatic that when Secretary Clinton told them, the immigrants, that she will help them, those 11 million people that are here without documents, that she will help them. But what was some of the things that you remember more?
Well, the speeches that I watched were from the Democratic National Convention, and I feel like I can just relate to all of it. I mean, every speech had something that I was able to relate to because it's speaking to Americans just in general, and it was just I felt it was very welcoming and inclusive. Talked about immigrants, different things that are going on in the world. So I just felt there wasn't one thing that kind of stood out. It was kind of, the way it was structured was very well done. And I mean, the speeches in general were very inspiring. I did not watch much of the Republican National Convention because I consider it like, to me it's still a joke. Like, I don't consider this person a politician. This is just someone that has a lot of money and power, and I don't even consider him a Republican, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of Republicans have come out against his comments and policies, and I don't feel that. I don't see that and be like, okay, this is a Republican. I just feel like this is just him.
As a woman, do you really think that this candidate has offended the woman in general?
That if she's
that Mr. Trump has offended the woman in general? Do you take it like that as a woman? Because of those comments that he has done, for example, against Megyn Kelly from Fox, that he said that he was bleeding. And that's kind of strong.
I think he's just offensive to so many people. I mean, he just says whatever comes out of his mouth, no filter. And I mean, if you're trying to represent the United States, you just can't do that, right? It's just, you're working, what he doesn't understand is, as president, you'd be working for the people. They're not working for you. And as a businessman, that's what he's used to. He's used to other people working for him. But as president, it's the complete opposite. You get elected to work for the people.
In the Republican convention also, there were a lot of people screaming, lock her up, or put in jail, talking about Mrs. Clinton. When you hear that kind of screaming, what's your take on that? That bunch of people, thousands of people still screaming against a woman that's been working for a long time as a public servant, to more than 25 years, as a first lady, as a secretary of state, as a senator from New York. What's your position?
It makes me sad that there are people out there who are just so uneducated and are so motivated by their emotions and things they hear that sound somehow appealing, and they want to just yell it out to offend someone. It's actually sad because people should be more educated and use logic in America. I mean, we still have a long way to go. People shouldn't be in conventions yelling offensive things like that, just in general. So to me, it just shows a lot about where people are finding their motivation. They're not using logic. And I think it's okay to yell these type of comments. So it's actually kind of a sad.
Now that we have the first woman nominated by the biggest party, Democrats, in this situation, did you feel any difference now that the first woman nominated could be in the White House? Does that make you feel different? Like, finally we have a woman in the White House, and maybe in the future we have a Latino woman, as we have a African-American president. Do you feel that?
The more I learn, the more I realize that it's just, I have this feeling of it's about time. Rather than this feeling of like excitement and happiness, it's more like, okay, it's about time. This should have happened yesterday. Like, why is it just happening now? So I feel like I'm happy that it's happening, but also my emotions are very like, let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving. Like, we should have done this a long time ago, and what's next? Yeah.
Do you think that she really will implement the immigration reform, that she really feel it like someday she become the next president, she will do it?
I feel that her intention is definitely to do it, but then I also know that it's not completely up to her. There's a process in government. There are other parties involved, right? It has to go through the Senate, House of Representatives. So I feel like her intention is definitely to do it. I think her intention is to kind of build on what Obama has started. But again, we have to remember we put so much emphasis and attention on these individuals when really government is so much more than just, those faces. And that's why it's so important for people to be involved, because it's these little components that in the end make the big difference.
Going back to Mr. Figueroa. Mr. Figueroa, we have seen that President Obama has been 2 terms in the White House, and the Republicans said that will be, if Mrs. Clinton won the White House, there will be the 3rd term in the White House. Why would be good for the United States to keep another Democrat in the White House, in this case a woman like Hillary Clinton?
Well, first of all, we have the 25th Amendment that prevents Obama from running a 3rd term, but I've heard many people say, I wish he could run a 3rd, including Republicans.
Well, he has like
Let's make an
53%.
exception.
53% approval.
This might be the rule,
highest,
the
highest
action
rates.
that breaks the rule, that's okay. But anyway, consistency. The world needs it. Guidance. So they can have 2 directions. Our financial markets need it. We don't need the uncertainty of what policy Donald Trump thinks up that morning or that afternoon and then changes his mind before he go to bed. Donald Trump represents chaos. Complete chaos, anarchy. And quite frankly, it looks like Donald Trump as president, Vladimir Putin will be the real leader of the United States.
I'm going to ask you an hypothetical question. If Mr. Trump asks you for advice, what would you tell him?
If he asked me?
For an advice, what would you tell him?
To go jump off a bridge.
With that answer, we're going to take our first break. Remember, you're watching FORO Politico. I'll be right back. Thank you for joining us. According to the Pew Research Center, from the total of the Latino electorate, 66% they're supporting Mrs. Clinton, and the 24% Mr. Donald Trump. Again, this is a fact from the Pew Research Center. 66% from the Latinos they're supporting Mrs. Clinton, and only 24% supporting Mr. Trump. And we're going to talk in this segment about the social media, how it's influenced this presidential election. And I'm going to ask you, Maribel, Maribel, about, since you're younger than, well, Mr. Figueroa and myself, a little bit, just a little bit. But since you manage very well the media, the Facebook, the YouTube, the Instagram, and all those things, do you see revolution? Something new that teenagers, they're really concerned about this election, or they're isolated, they don't care about that?
I mean, I think they definitely care about it. Millennials especially, I see them very involved. I feel like once you turn between the age, 20s, 30s, you're more aware of kind of the effect that politics has on your life. And people are starting to have families and maybe get further in their career. So this kind of stuff starts becoming more important. Then there's social media, which I think it's very helpful. Sometimes posts, photos, it's just, it gets people excited, it gets them involved. But they have to also take the action to go out there and vote and tell their story and do whatever they can as well. So I think social media is great for motivation and exposure, but it really comes down to what you take action with after you see all the posts or after you write, that inspiring quote or whatever it is. But I love social media. I think it's great. I think people are able to kind of learn from each other and really, when you're typing something, you can be yourself more than sometimes being in front of someone. So I think it's great. There are ways to use it that can be good or bad, but I think as long as you're using it, for something that's positive.
Do you think that we're still behind in talking about social media, particularly the United States? Because we see, for example, other countries that they use a lot of Twitter when they see something very political. Or, for example, what happened in Egypt and those Middle East countries that they say, thank you to the social media, we create this revolution. And in my opinion, I think like we are behind because sometimes the way that we use social media is to let others know I got a new car, I got what I'm eating right now, or I'm taking vacation.
Yeah.
Don't you think that could be used for more useful things?
I don't think we're behind as far as using social media. I think we're very involved on social media, but I do think we're behind on educating the general public on how to use social media. Because again, there's cyberbullying now. It could be used in very negative ways. And actually, I don't know the exact stats, but I know that experts can tell a lot about you, your demographic, who you hang out with based on your photos, based on what you write. So when you're posting something or writing something, you're really exposing so much more than you think. So you have to be very careful with that. And I do think social media is not going anywhere. So there's definitely a need to educate, you know, people on how to use it in the proper way and what can be said about you if you post a certain thing, or what employers are seeing, or things like that. So I do think we're very behind on showing how it should be used.
Mr. Figueroa, the people that you represent, you are an advocate for immigrants. Do you see also they're behind, or they're really involved in the social media? For example, when you're talking about a case, defending somebody from some abuses in the school, did you communicate with them through social media?
Well, I think it breaks down to age. Clearly, my age gap, the baby boomers, we're behind. We hire, whether it's through contractual or directly employers, individuals to control our social media. We're still afraid to use it to its full capacity. Social media is my #1 outlet in getting information, whether it's advocating for children or advocating for small business or immigrant rights. Social media is the #1 tool. No one gets the newspaper anymore. Everyone gets, no one pays their bills through the mail. You know, I mean, everyone does it on the internet or via social media. They accomplish what they need to accomplish.
I'm going to read this information from the Pew Research Center. It's about the issues that are more concerned to the Latinos. And 84% they care about the economy. Then in second place is terrorism, 80%. Foreign policy, 75%. Healthcare, 74%. Gun policy, 72%. And immigration, 70%. That means like immigration is the 6th number. Do you think that's behind? Like,
well, let me explain.
The economy
First
is more important?
As far as the Pew, I think they're way off. I'm predicting that 80 to 85% Latino for Hillary. Every Latino I know, even that are Republicans, are now supporting Hillary. They're fed up. Donald Trump is going to learn one simple thing. It's the economy stupid. It's as simple as that. That's all Bill Clinton won. The Bush administration, it was the economy stupid.
But don't you think that will be the opposite, because Mr. Trump is a businessman? He knows how to do deals, how to create jobs.
But he does not pay his employees fair wages or living wages. Right now, in 2 of his hotels, there are strikes going on. In the former Taj Mahal casino that he sold to Carl Icahn, they still haven't negotiated a contract. That began with Donald Trump. And in one of his hotels in Florida, they're still not paying. There's pickets going on because he's not paying them. So Donald Trump, just like he says, buy America, while he produces outside of the United States, I think Fareed Sadiq said it, Donald Trump is full of BS. He's a BS artist.
But that's why he wants to renegotiate NAFTA, and he opposes the TPP.
But he's a BS artist. Everything he says is BS. He's full of it.
Explain to me BS.
BS is, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear to get what I want, but I'm changing my mind once the deal is contract. I don't care, because that's what you do. That's what he did in bankruptcy. He gets what he wants, files bankruptcy, and then tells me, okay, I'm going to give you 10 cents on the dollar.
But how he have created that kind of fortune? How he have done a dollar
by fraud? He's the ultimate
in this
fraudster.
country.
Yes, in this
in
country,
the United States of America,
he is a skilled con man. He sat there arguing with the con family whose son died, a gold star mother he made cry. That's unbelievable in this U.S. So the con man was arguing with the con family.
Would you blame him, or would you blame the system? Because he has mentioned many times, I know the system.
Right.
Then it's the system.
Then I blame.
It's for example, when you go to a bank.
Ultimately, it comes down to integrity. You know right and wrong, even if you can manipulate the system. And integrity prevents you from doing wrong, even if you can manipulate the system to your favor. That demonstrates. So, people supporting Trump, I tell them to their face, Donald Trump is a reflection of the contents of your character if you support him. So
How
just,
many, then, like Mr. Trump, do you see more Trumps in the United States doing the same thing?
I see people learning from Donald Trump. They're learning from Donald Trump.
Did you see?
Well, you know what? Like we generally don't associate people with money with crime, right? Whenever we think crime, we think low income, streets, like. But there is such a thing as white collar crime, and it's out there. It's just not really exposed because these people have power and they have attorneys, and they're able to kind of protect their image, I guess. But there is white collar crime, and that's when people with a lot of money are taking advantage of people who don't have that much money, or they're manipulating the system, and they're able to do this because they have the knowledge and the money to do that. So, but crime, I mean, it's committed by people who have money as well, and we just don't see a lot of that, but it's there.
So
and that's
what she's saying is because if you see a blonde-haired, blue-eyed man in a tie rob a bank through the computer, it's not a crime. But if a poor man is asking for food on the side of the road, it's a crime because it's called you're obstructing traffic, you're begging, you're loitering. We've got it backwards.
But blame the system.
I blame. Ultimately, it comes down to the voters not voting because whoever we choose, they create the laws and they do the appointments to get people. Okay, and we got to get our voters involved in that in our democracy. But it's systemic problems in our system, yes, that other people have learned to manipulate to their financial benefit.
There are systemic problems, definitely, but I like to believe that the system is meant to, like equal rights, and I think that that's what it's meant for. But again, people who have resources and money and attorneys, they have the advantage of, knowing how to manipulate the system. So I mean, I think it's great, there's the IRS who, is controlling how much money is going in and out. So I mean, I think there are checks and balances, and I think the system is supposed to protect people and how much you're making, how much you're contributing. I want to believe that, but also because these people have resources and money, they can get away with certain things that other people can't get away with. And that's a problem too, because I mean, there are a lot of people suffering because of these white-collar crimes, and that's just not being exposed.
Talking about money, Mr. Figueroa, about the system like us in the United States, when we spoke to Mr. Parker in the Coachella Valley, he mentioned about the financial for the parties, the amount of money that they receive for these campaigns. How can we stop this? How can we stop it that they don't, because we see like if you have money, you have power. You can do whatever you want.
We could stop it. Donald Trump said something this morning where he was right, that it comes down to who's the Supreme Court justice. So we need to overturn Citizens United. Bernie Sanders was right. And when Hillary gets on there, she will appoint a Supreme Court judge, will have the majority to overturn Citizens United. That will remove the corporations from giving secret money and secret PACs to whoever they want. So it comes down to the president, it comes down to winning the Senate. Right now, as I heard, the Republicans are totally panicked that they're going to lose both the House and the Senate and may lose it for as much as 10 years, that Donald Trump has done that much damage.
At the beginning of this show, you were mentioning about predictions. This show should be about predictions. Did you predict that Mr. Trump is going to leave this campaign?
You know what?
He's going to say, I'm done?
No, what I'm predicting is that Donald Trump is going to do something so outrageous.
Like what? He has
He's such a narcissist.
More things?
Well, what next? He's going to hail Hitler. He's going to do something, so outrageous that he doesn't care if he wins or loses. He doesn't care. He's made his money. He's made his fortune. He wanted his name in history, and he's got it.
Have you seen that he hasn't insulted the African Americans or the Jewish people?
There hasn't been anybody.
No. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Why?
He's playing his.
He couldn't make it with them.
Yeah.
He couldn't play with them.
No, he can't.
He couldn't make it. He can play with the Latinos, with Muslims, with disability people, with women, but not with those groups.
Yeah.
He's afraid of that.
Yeah.
Well,
he went after Black Lives Matter ruthlessly. So Donald Trump, to me, he's just a giant reality show. I think he's having the time of his life making He's punking the Republican
Do
Party.
do you really believe what Mr. Putin said about him, that he was a genius?
No, I do not believe he's a genius. I believe he's a Manchurian candidate. And CIA director recently said he's unwittingly being used by the Russians. I believe that if you simply tell him nice things, and you can make a complete fool of him, and he doesn't mind it because he's making. His supporters are white, middle class, uneducated males.
When you were at the school, because you were educated here, Mrs. Serrano, did you face that kind of discrimination with white girls, white boys?
No, I never felt discriminated against them. I felt like there was a lot in my own mind where I kind of felt like I didn't fit in. That was very personal in my own mind, but I never felt discriminated against, or, I mean, I felt like I didn't fit in, but it was in my own mind, right? I always grew up with very diverse classmates. I mean, from preschool. I started preschool here, so my classmates were Black, Asian, white, and as a child, I grew up with that. So it wasn't until later in life when I started learning about racism and differences that I was like, oh, okay, so we're all supposed to be different, parts of different groups. But growing up, I mean, I just saw people as people. So, but I love having that experience. I love that I grew up around very diverse people, because it helped me develop that mindset of, I saw people as just people, so why has that changed?
Because maybe you grew up in California, but maybe if you grew up in other states would be different, doesn't it? If you go to New Hampshire, if you go to Oklahoma, Texas, you'll see another kind of United States.
At different time periods too. Growing up in the 60s and 70s, I experienced racism on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But I got to credit the millennial students. As we've grown up, the millennials are our dream. They really have, the discrimination will end with the millennials.
And I think it's because, again, we grew up differently. We grew up already when there was more integration, and we, learned to become friends with each other and learn to communicate, speak in the same language, and just understand each other. And I think that now, the people that grew up like that, we are the millennials. We're adults now, and we're being influential. We're making decisions. So I think that's where that comes from. It's the way we grew up.
We have to take another break.
Okay.
Don't go. I'll be right back. You're watching Foro Politico. Thank you very much for joining us once again. You're watching Foro Politico, and today we're talking about this presidential election. But we're going to take a phone call from one of the members from the Comité Latino in the Coachella Valley, because right now they're protesting against about an entrepreneur. His name is Nechatar Chandy, that he created a super PAC, $100 million supporting Mr. Donald Trump. And I have to tell you that in this region, in the Coachella Valley, most of the people that support his businesses like gas station, they're Latinos. And I have in the line Mr. Parker, Chuck Parker, that he's right now in this protest. Mr. Parker, thank you very much for taking this phone call. Tell us a little bit, how's the situation over there?
Well, we came out today because we protest the fact that Mr. Chandy, whose businesses are many ARCO stations here in the Coachella Valley, primarily the customers are Latinos, and he has chosen to take $500,000 to support Donald Trump, who has viciously attacked immigrants, Mexican people, Latinos in general, Muslims, women. I mean, he's a very bad candidate, and we don't think it's right for Mr. Chandy to take monies which have been basically spent by the workers that Trump is targeting to support his candidacy.
Mr. Parker, but don't you think that this is part of the democracy where people can do whatever they want with their money?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is part of a democracy that he can do that, but it's also part of it that we, the people, can choose not to patronize his businesses. And that's what we are trying to tell people. Don't shop at ARCO because he's going to use that money to hurt you and your family. And basically to undermine democracy, because Mr. Trump is an anti-democratic candidate. Anti-democracy candidate, I should say.
Have you tried to speak to him?
I haven't personally. I just heard about this morning, and I'm not sure if any of the other people here have tried to talk to him either. But so I don't know that answer to that question.
How many people there right now at this moment protesting in that gas station?
Well, we're just gathering. We have about 15 people so far, but there's more coming. So. And then where there's going to be thousands of people passing on this street. It's a very busy intersection here at the corner of Avenue 52 and Harrison. And so we expect to have a big impact.
What will be the message for other businessmen or businesswomen that they're thinking that they will support a candidate like Mr. Trump?
Well, we think that they should respect the community that they serve, the community that supports them, and at the very least not donate to and support candidates who really want to hurt those people. If Trump were elected and carried out some of his policies, which are so outrageous, I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Chandi's business has suffered a lot, because a lot of the people that he wants to deport buy gas from him. So I don't get it. I don't know what his motivation is.
We have in the 60s Mr. Cesar Chavez, that he called to boycott those industries that they make in wine. And is that the same thing that you're planning to do, like boycott those gas stations or those business for this businessman, Mr. Chandi?
Yes, exactly. It's exactly the same type of thing, same type of tactic.
Besides,
because what you have, what else can people do? You have a million people with no money against a few people with lots of money who are using that money to try to take away your livelihood and your democracy and separate your family and basically destroy the community. So, besides this,
Mr. Parker, what else are you planning to do it in order to try to call the attention that a businessman or businesswoman doesn't support a candidate like him?
There are people here who are very active in the political process, and they're going to be working hard to register voters, to organize people to go out and vote, and to make sure that Donald Trump loses this election by a very big margin. You've
been participating in another presidential elections, and maybe you lived that situation with Richard Nixon that they called the Watergate. And now, what we're facing right now this morning, the Congresswoman from San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi, she mentioned about we're facing another Watergate because of the emails, but these WikiLeaks by Julian Assange. Are you seeing the same thing that happened a long time ago with Mr. Nixon?
Well, I'm not sure what she was referring to.
Did you remember the Watergate with Richard Nixon?
I remember Watergate.
And then do you think that is the same right now that we're facing the situation that WikiLeaks, Julian Assange has tried to steal the information from the National Democratic Party?
Oh, yes. I understand now your question. Yeah, I think it is very similar, where you have certain powerful people in the political parties conspiring to fix the election for the candidate they support, and using all kinds of illegal and underhanded tactics to smear, in this case now, smear Bernie Sanders and ensure that Hillary got the nomination. And back then they were trying to make sure that Nixon got reelected. So yeah, I would say it's a good comparison.
Going back to this situation for Mr. Chandi, what will happen if Mr. Chandy will give money to a Democratic candidate? Will you take it like something bad or something good? Because at the end of the day, powerful people with money, they can give money to a Democrat, to a Republican, to independent. What will be your position at that time if Mr. Chandy decide, okay, I'm going to give you money also, $500,000 to the Democrats?
Well, I mean, I really think that we need to reform the election system in this country so that money doesn't play such a powerful role in deciding who gets elected. You know, we've got to do something to get the big money out of politics so that everyone's on a level playing field, so that, you know, people can make their choice based on the issues and not based on how much money they get from corporations or individual people. I mean, certainly I wouldn't think that him donating to a Democrat would be as controversial because, you know, Mr. Trump is just so outrageous in the things that he's proposing. But at the same time, you know, him or any other wealthy businessman donating money to gain support from whatever candidate is a lot what's wrong with our politics now. I mean, and usually that's what they do. They donate to both sides. That way, whoever wins, they win, you know.
Okay, Mr. Parker, thank you so much for taking this phone call, and good luck, and tell us how is the weather over there.
It's hot. It's really hot. But,
okay, drink a lot of water, and thank you very much, and
okay.
we're going to keep in touch and to see what's next for this businessman that supports Mr. Trump. And at the end of the day, as I told you before, everybody wants to do whatever they want with their money. I don't know if that will be the same with candidates like this man that many people compare like
right.
Hitler.
Well, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. And
Okay, bye.
going back, Mr. Figueroa, what's your take on all this then?
Well, I think the boycotts work, and we need to do the boycotts against ARCO across the country to punish Mr. Chantry. It worked in the 60s with Cesar Chavez with the grapes and the wines, and it'll work again with ARCO gas station. We need to send a message to their association to say, ya basta, we've had enough, we did it before, this is old school, we can do this.
But don't you think that this is against the imperialism, against capitalism, when you try to, people will take it like you destroying business?
When capitalism, you know, I'm a capitalist, but when corporations are considered individuals by the Supreme Court and Citizens United, and they use our dollars that we spend on their doors to ethnically cleanse our people, hey, right back at you. We can target our dollars and to individuals. I don't mind paying $1 more per gallon if it means that we're going to defeat Donald Trump.
Do you think that at this time, at this presidential election, the Latino community needs leaders in order, like Cesar Chavez tried to speak with them?
I think what we're seeing in the Latino community is multiple leaders. No single leader, correct.
Why not? Why not?
Because it's time we've grown up. It's time that we have many leaders in small communities.
But don't you think
they could be school board presidents, they could be city councils.
But don't you think that will be kind of corrupted or rigged system when you have many leaders and everyone wants to do whatever they want? Like they don't get to one point and represent all of them.
There's always the danger, as we saw in South El Monte, the mayor of South El Monte who pled guilty to bribery charges. That's always the existence. It's in Chicago, New York. But, you know, we've come of age where we have a lot of leaders now. We no longer have to depend from a single source. We've had our inspiration. Cesar Chavez still lives through our action. Dr. King still lives through our actions. It's up to us now to fulfill their dreams.
And Maribel, now I would like to ask you the same. When you see these fights between the community and the people that they're supporting a candidate, in this case like Donald Trump, like those comments that says about the Latino immigrants, do you think that's the right way to protest, to go out and say this is not right, this is part of the rights that we have as citizens in this society?
I think that I love seeing people protest and stand up for what they believe. I think that these big companies and corporations have the advantage of having the money to support a candidate, but the everyday person doesn't have that, right? But they do have their rights and their voice, and they can use that as protest as well, because they don't have, the money that maybe these corporations have to support their candidate, so they have to find their own way to show their support or lack of support. So
when you were a teenager and since you're a student, would you participate in this kind of civil disobedience or that kind of protest asking for immigration reform?
I didn't participate in these types of protests. I tried very much to contact Congress, like making phone calls, writing letters, doing that kind of thing, because I feel like they're the ones who make the decisions, right? So I always try to find a way to go directly to them instead of protesting.
And what do you think about those students that they were doing civil disobedience? So they went to the border and tried to cross the border after they found out that they got the
I think it's great. I think these are students who are learning about history and what has worked in the past, and they're taking that as inspiration, and they're building on that. So I think it's great.
Mr. Figueroa, we see this presidential election like never before. And again, this morning, Mrs. Nancy Pelosi was saying that we're living another Watergate. Do you see the same?
Absolutely. See, before it was simple. We had the U.S. mail. There was only two forms of communication, and burglary. Today we have email. It's more sophisticated. Call it Trumpgate, call it Poonamgate. There's a lot of names being thrown out there on what exactly to call it, but it's a very sophisticated form of Watergate. It's still burglary. It's hacking. Hacking is burglary. And guess what? The trail leads back to Trump and Putin, the Kremlin.
But Mr. Figueroa, what we call hacking, how can we get transparency when the politicians, they don't want to tell you what's happening, what's going on? Do you think that they lose credibility? The honesty is in between that?
First, this is a warning sign that we better get better protection for our computers. Not only as government agencies, as political parties especially, but as corporations and businesses, to show any one of us can be hacked and we can be abused and used. But it also, government has a responsibility. We can no longer do things in secret. If we're emailing our friends dirty little secrets about each other or little comments that we're saying, it's gonna come out. So, email, Facebook, it's the essence of our soul. So if what we're emailing, anything, there's no privacy. It's going to come out. You can't hide it anymore.
Don't you feel afraid that somebody's going to steal your information in your Facebook?
I kind of figured it's already happened. I've actually...
They're going to steal your identity?
It's already happened.
Or you're the only one?
I feel sorry for the guy who steals my information.
Okay, please, I'm going to ask you, Holder, you have a talk, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't put anything online or email or any that if it was shown to the world, I would feel embarrassed about. I just expect everything that's on the internet is for the world to see, because you just never know, and I don't think there's real privacy when it comes to that. So I don't put anything online that I want to keep to myself. I just assume my grandma can see it, like the world could see it. And I think that's kind of, I feel like there's a lack of education to especially the younger generation they're growing up with this sort of technology. And they're not being educated properly on how it really works, what they should be posting, what they shouldn't be posting. So we live in a different age now. When it comes to politics or anything that's put on the internet, email, anything like that, you have to be very careful.
In the movie 1984, where the government controlled everything because they knew everything about everybody, it's gone backwards because of email and technology. Certain few people know everything about the government and us. So the movie 1984 is a great movie to watch. Everyone should watch it. It was made in the 50s on how eventually computers would be used to spy on everyone.
I'm going to ask you to hold that talk. We have to go to our commercial break. Please stay with us. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this situation, about the social media. Is that good for a democratic country or is it not good? Please stay with us. This is FORO Politico. In this segment, we're going to talk about media, how the vehicles, the media communication is influenced this presidential election. And Maribel, going back to you,
Yes.
you have a bachelor's degree in communications. How are you living this presidential election? What things would you like to do more as a reporter, as a person that learn how to communicate with others or to tell the stories about? What would you like to see?
You know, I think people, we have so much power as individuals, and I do think that in the end it comes down to the people and what the people want. I just think that we're not taught enough how to practice that power or how to embrace it. And I just think, you know, as a journalism student, I realized that, you know, there are stories that are, what do people want to see? What's going to cause attention? What's going to raise ratings, you know, for the station, for the channel, for the show? So then you're kind of faced with that against, you know, things that really matter to you, but then it's more about what matters to the public. It's all about the greater good, right? Like, we're so much about, like, ourselves, what our perspective is, our experience, but I think it comes down to realizing that we're a part of something much bigger, and learning how to just add that to the stories. Right?
If you would have the opportunity to be in front of Mr. Trump, what question would you ask Mr. Trump? Taking the risk that he will take you out.
What question would I ask him? I don't know. You know what?
As a reporter, for example, in the middle of this situation that we're facing, that many people does not believe him, that he insults everyone, that he's not talking with the truth, or he's been named by many names, calling artists like a joke or many things. But if a question comes to your mind, what would you ask him? What would you care about to know from him?
I haven't thought too much about it because I don't feel him as a politician. I feel him as, you know, a businessman. But I think if I had to ask him a question, it would be more of how would you, I guess, contrast what you do in business with what you would do as president? Because as a businessman, people work for you, but as president, you're working for the people. So to you, what does that mean, right? Because I think he's kind of taken his business perspective and trying to apply it here. And that's not, there are aspects of business and government, there are, but it's about the people, and there are real people that are affected by these decisions. And I think that the way he grew up with his advantages, his lifestyle, he, you know, lacks that sort of perspective.
Let me answer that. We got to remember that he's a complete psychopath, a narcissist. And coming from that perspective, I would ask Donald Trump, what the heck did your mama and daddy do to you growing up? Mama have fun with you? Come on, answer the question. Because that's the only thing he's going to respond to. Bottom line, you can't be professional with this guy. He's never professional. He's a moron. He's an idiot. So you got to fight. He said he's going to fight fire with fire. Yeah. So that's what I would do. You saw me take on Jor Arpaio, and it worked. It worked.
I think we'll just let Steve take this one. What I would ask him is
that one. This is it. I wanna add a little bit about after the Mr. Trump said the speech about the Second Amendment, insinuating to something happened to Secretary Clinton, that they said that the CIA was gonna taking care of him or questioning him. The next day, I watched him in Virginia, and he looks like more presidential. Like he lost his tone. He was talking slow. He was very passionate. Do you think it's because of that? Now he wants to try to get to the Republicans, what many Republicans they're not supporting. Okay, they get frustrated already of this candidate.
Here's my prediction on that. Next week we'll be talking about Donald Trump under investigation by both the CIA and the FBI on the email scandal. Nancy Pelosi signaled it today on Trumpgate. Call it what you want. She knows stuff we don't know, and Trump's in trouble. That's going to be the issue. That doesn't mean he's not going to still continue the run, but the investigation, new scandal.
We're going to ask with this question. Is not related to the presidential election. It's about the Olympics. Did you see the United States is doing good?
Sure.
Yeah.
You satisfied? What's your takeaway when you see women, for example, in the gymnastics, that you have black girls, Latina girls, and white girls? Is the United States that we are living?
Yeah.
You like that?
I love watching that. I mean, I love watching anything that takes commitment and focus and just, I mean, that you have to really commit your life and everything to that and get rid of your social life, and that becomes your, you know, everything about you. And I think it's beautiful.
Did that give you
what
the
result
also?
is.
You feel the power that still United States is a powerful country in the world, even though there are many
yeah.
people talking about this as disastrous, this is dangerous, this is the worst.
Well, it's all about ratings in the United States. We know that because we live here. To the rest of the world, they're probably saying, what the heck is going on? But yet the Olympics is uniting us, it's putting us together. Michael Phelps is breaking new records. The women's teams now have 5 gold medals in swimming. So, I mean, when it all comes down to it, we're a united people. We'll fight among each other, but we are united.
This is the United States of America that we would like to see. Thank you very much, Mr. Figueroa. Mrs. Serrano, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of everybody that makes possible FORO Politico, thank you. See you soon and good night.